right, ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I'm going to show you the different parts of a circle graph. Now, circle graphs are just one of the many graphs that you guys are going to learn this year. And circle graphs, so we're going to go ahead and type that in the first part or write that. So, circle graphs are used to show the relationship of the part to the whole of data, okay? So circle graphs are always going to show you your part to your whole. And when we think of that, we kind of are going to start thinking about fractions again, as well as percentages. Now remember, with fractions, you always want your part on top, and then your whole is going to be represented on the bottom. Another thing that you need to know about circles is that, or circle graphs, is that they total 100%. Now, that doesn't mean that the data is always going to be out of like 100 data points. It means that it's going to be out of 100%. Okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to label the following circles using the fraction and percentage for each section. So, let's take a look at this first one right here. We have a very large section, and if you notice, that is representing half of the graph. So we're going to go ahead and write the fraction 1/2. Now, thinking back to our benchmarks from when we did our FDP unit, 1/2 as a percentage is 50%. So I'm going to put 50% there. Now let's think about these other two sections. If I'm looking over here, it looks like a half that has been split exactly in half. So if I take half and I cut that in half, I end up with 25%. So I'm going to write 25% here, and I'm going to write 25% here because they're both the same. Now we just need to think about the fraction part of it. 25%, if we're thinking about money, quarters are worth 25 cents. So each of these sections are considered to be 1/4. Okay, so make sure you go ahead and have that labeled. Now let's look at the next one. All three of these sections are exactly the same. And if we notice, there are three sections. So these different fractions are going to represent 1/3 of our data. Okay. And 1/3 as a percentage is approximately 33%. Now we know 1/3 is one of those that goes on and on and on. So we're just going to say about 33%. So that's all you have to write for this one because all of the sections are the same in this particular case. Now let's look at the last graph. We've got part of it represented here on the left. That looks very similar to that first one that we did. That's only half of the graph being represented. So I'm going to go ahead and write 1/2, and then I'm going to put 50% here. Now, if we look on this other side, I notice that this section right here looks very familiar too. That's representing 1/4 of our graph. So I'm going to type 1/4. And then again, that's 25%. Now, this part gets a little bit tricky because it looks like we have 25% here, but that 25% is being split directly in half. So if we were to take 25% and divide it by 2, we would end up with 12.5%. So that's going to be 12.5%, and this is going to be 12.5% as well. Now we just need to think about the fraction part. I'm going to switch up my color just a little bit. I do not want you to write this. I repeat, I do not want you to write this part. So if I have this here and I notice that this section, okay, has 2, if I were to split the rest of our graph up and kind of like split those as well, if you notice, we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different sections. So these two parts right here are going to be represented as 1/8 of our circle. So I do want you to write 1/8 for here, and I want you to write 1/8 for here. Okay. So just to kind of recap again, circles are represented out of 100%, and we can utilize our benchmarks like 1/2, 1/4, 1/3, and things like that to help us figure out the different fractions and percents of a circle graph.